Started. First of all, just want to thank you, Secure West Virginia, for having me here again talking. Excited to be back. And thanks for you guys coming to my talk. This is for the talk of the Path for Forensic Examiner ACE. I know I changed the slide title last minute. Me and my friends over here figured that this title would be more suitable for the talk, but I let you guys be the judge of it. Let me know after the talk which title is better, suitable for the talks, all right? So that would be helpful. So my name is Tuan Phan. I'm from Cincinnati. The independent security researcher. I work for big, well-known financial institutes. I can't tell you exactly the name of it because I do a lot of public speaking engagement, and there's a lot of legal litigations and all that. I didn't want to go through the trouble. I serve there as the assistant vice president of the e-discovery and the forensics lead. I have many years on hands-on technical experience, including the e-discovery forensics, digital forensics, incident response, data security, and the inside threat strategy. Even though I look like 21 till I die, but I'm in this industry for almost 2 decades now, guys. I'm also the principal security engineer for ThreatReal. At ThreatReal, we do a lot of podcasts in terms of the info security topics. We haven't updated in decades too, but we will get back on track 2025, man. So you can follow me on LinkedIn, hook me up. I will be happy to connect back with you. Overall, this is the networking sessions, so let me know. So yes, I do have a day job. So today my talk is based on my opinion, is based on my sole independent security research. It does not express or reflect the view of my employers. So what we're going to talk today, we're going to talk about what is Digital Forensic Examiner, DFE. We're going to touch base on the basic technical skills and the baseline knowledge required to be the awesome Digital Forensic Examiner. We're going to discuss the difference between the public sector versus the private sector. I have a lot of people that ask me those questions, so hopefully we'll cover that. We will touch base on the experience, and we're going to talk about the skills needed for the job. If we have time, I'm happy to do a Q&A. If not, I'll be back in the room taking any questions. Before we dive in, a lot of people ask me, really, even if I go to bar and stuff, people ask me what I do for a living. I said I do digital forensics. I always get that oddly weird looking, like, interesting, right? And then they always, as soon as I say that, they always come back with questions, often more like, so you must be that person or that guy who's wear a white lab coat, right? And sitting in a small clean room, no air, no window, no clean air. And then I have a lot of equipment to tinkering with for maybe 15 to 20 hours a day. And then if they're happy, they slide me a pizza, right, for work. Funny enough, yeah, I do. I do have a white lab coat, but it's not a requirement that I have to wear it. It's just that because in the EDFI lab or forensic lab, it's just look great if you have a white lab coat. So I wear it just because I have good visitor comes in, I like to show and tell and all that, but it's not required. I do sit in a small clean room. We do have windows. We have clean air, not dirty air. We do have a lot of equipment comes in, more of the evidence-wise that we get intake for those. We do tinkering with them, depend on the case, depend on the days. So 15 to 20 hours, that may be right? So the room itself, really suitable for 4 people, 4 examiners, but we only have 2. It's hard to get a qualified digital forensic examiner in there. So, which brings us to my slide here is, why this talk? It's inspired me by the job candidate that I participated in interviewing for Digital Forensic Examiner 1. Then you got 2, which is junior. Then you got Examiner 3, which is more senior. And then you got the Digital Forensics Examiner lead, who's control the whole thing. As I mentioned, finding the experienced digital forensic candidate is really challenging. Just come in and do the work itself. You have to train them to the speed and then go through all the policies. So a lot of people tend to just don't like it. Also, hopefully this talk will help fill the knowledge of what it is, right? Clear the confusing and the skill gaps that you require for the job. I often also do a lot of mentors for local high school kids, early adulthood, go back to school for cybersecurity. A lot of them also say, hey, I don't want to be in incident response. I got to be on call all the time. I got wife and kids at home. I don't want to be on call during the weekends and stuff like that. I don't want to be a GSOC analyst, right? Where can I be? And I say, well, do you like to be technical? Yeah, I want to be technical. Do you like to take things apart and put it back? It's like, yeah, I do that. I used to do Legos and all that. It's like, great, you can do digital forensics. So hopefully, digital forensics, is this a career path for you or not, right? So what is the roles of the digital forensics or the digital forensics incident response? To me, both of them is really the same. They have overlaid responsibilities and roles itself. Both of them investigate in security incidents, events, basically answer that classic questions. Who did what, where, and when things happen. Think of digital forensics as digital forensic incident response. They comes in, they stop the bleed, put the Band-Aids on it, and then done. For digital forensic examiner or the e-discovery forensics, electronic data, they come in, they basically essentially preserving the data and do the analysis of the data, and then they documentations the heck out of it. That's just for preservation, for legals and purposes. So what is the inspiring to be a digital forensics examiner or e-discovery forensics? To me, this is standard, right? That person has to retain a good working knowledge following the standard information security or security practice disciplines. They got to understand how to do the data collections, do the examinations, parse out the things that they needed for the investigations, do the analysis of it, and then reporting. And then at the end, documentation and documentations. Show of hands, how many people like documentations? Not a whole lot. Sadly, you have to change that mindset. Earlier, Adam was giving that speak, right? Documentation will save your butt. So having documentation is important. Not just save your butt, but it's also easier for you to do your reporting at the end too as well. So you may ask, when did digital forensics start? Well, I mentioned earlier, it started with the security incident response event alert to something that ties into some type of criminal or cybercrime investigation. This could be a public or internal, right? Internal investigation for insider threat. Any event that happened in your company organizations, anywhere. Is it something that is data being tampered? Is it something that actually intellectual property theft, salespeople taking contacts, taking that secret recipe from the company? Someone's gaining access to something that they shouldn't have in a malicious way. You may laugh. I know one audience here is going to laugh about MouseJiggler. Anybody know what MouseJiggler is? No? Yeah. So if you don't know what MouseJiggler is, it's basically either a software or hardware that permitting people, what it does is it permitting the screen to go on timeout. So, you have to go back and type in, log in, and back in. So if you have the MouseJiggler where it jiggle the mouse, that way the screen will always be active, and then you can go outside and play and then come back, and you don't have to worry about people say, hey, why are you offline? Stuff like that. So that is a security event, and insider threat love to investigate why Matt here doesn't do his job, but he's showing active. So yeah. So let's talk about what's the difference between the public versus the private. A lot of people ask me this. Is there a difference? Yeah. Is there a similarity? Of course. So let's talk about public sector first. You're going to work with a lot of regional government bureaus, local law enforcement, local FBI, CIA, CISA, anything that is government related, you will work with them. You deal a lot of almost anything that they come to your house or wherever the location they got warrant for, and they seize that location. They're gonna take whatever. Could be smartphones, tablet, could be like an Xbox or whatever. Any device of evidence of criminal activities such as, from hacking, fraud, to a drug dealer sites, to identity theft, anything that is criminal events. So the goal here in public is to provide the evidence of a crime. In public, there is no legal right hold. There is, but they don't really claim about it. Since you don't know what legal right hold is, you can look it up on a great article on a website. Look it up for FCCP Rule 37. It talks about litigations, talking about legals, where a lot of private sectors have to have this to require for their e-discovery team. In public, most of the digital forensic lab, 99% of them are accredited, which is like the ISO 9001, which is standard. What that accreditation does is it allows the court to look at the case and understand that they follow the very strict guideline. They follow the standard procedure. Everything they do is what they do, and what they do is what they say they do. And they document that the heck out of it. So let's say if you win the lottery and you take off to Cancun, someone comes in, can take that case, read that case notes, and able to regenerate the result or the finding exactly the same way. So that's how the accreditations work. Now we talk about private organization. It's really the same thing with public, just a little bit different in terms of how you deal with the data. You perform the same type of mobile devices, but not a whole intense. Why? Because nowadays a lot of private company has that BYOD, bring your own device. So people like to put their company stuff on there, and it's all in a container box. Now, when you do get investigated, how many people here like to give up your phone for 2 days and say, hey, here it is, I did the crime. So most of the time we don't get those. So therefore there's no analysis to do anything with that. So it's just less intense in volume. And company cannot send a warrant and say, hey, you need to return it or you need to turn it into me. You have the right to your own devices. So in private, it's a little bit different. You can be sitting anywhere in the world, time zones wise. So we don't get to seize the laptop or the workstation. We look at different vector. How can we pivot to ourselves to collect the data? We leverage the email archives, right? You leverage the SIMs where the centralized logs would live. Look at anything that is EDR. You look at anything in compliance portal where you can pull the logs out and see what the user did at that time. DLP solutions, any solution that is in the enterprise environment that you can touch base with. In the private, again, you do a lot of legal rights, which is preservation of the data so that you can go to court and they say, hey, here's all the data that's been preserved for this type person. So the goal in the private here is you prevent future threats and then do a lot of data preservations. Now, I mentioned earlier, not all private will have the forensic lab. And even if they have a forensic lab, not all labs are accredited because it costs money. It will cost a dedicated, fully staffed to do the accreditation. So a lot of company will not do that. They will outsource that to another third party and then say, hey, I don't have to worry about it. So if you have to testify in court, they don't have to. The other company will do it for you. So what does it take to be the awesome digital forensic examiner? The ability to be good, work under good pressure, because it's just like incident response. They want to know that classic questions, who did what, when, so that they can send it to the management and make that executive decision. Let's say Matt here is doing something wrong. They need to know right away to either cut his line, disconnect him, and have the HR comes in and fire him right away. So disrupt the environment. So that's may work a long time. So basically, you may work long hours. You may sit there tinkering the hard drive. If he have a 1 terabyte it's going to take at least 4 hours for you to image that hard drive. And then once the hard drive is finished, it takes another 2 hours for you to do the verification check to make sure the data is integrity, right? And then you go through the parsing the data and all that. So you may work through the weekends. The next thing is, to me, is basically here, any job, teamwork and willingness to communicate with others, because you're not going to be by yourself. Sometime in the corporate world, you're going to ask for another team for help. Things like, firewall team, a network team. It's just easier. Leverage those teams, have them send you the logs rather than you go and look for it and hunt for it. It saves you a lot of time. So it doesn't matter if you're in public or in private, you will testify in court. But 99%, if you work for public sector, you're going to testify in court to justify what you did. In private, it's a little bit different. You got a lot of legals in your back. You're going to take forever. It has to go through that change of command, and it takes a lot of money. So by the time, if you do have to testify in court, they will mock you. They will practice you. They will tell you what to do, what to say. But until that day, it never happened. But it doesn't mean that it won't happen. It will. So let's talk about the skills now. You need to understand various type of operating system. Right? Windows, Linux, Mac, Android, any other new out there, it's a fair game. You need to understand what's out there. You need to understand the window artifacts. This is important if you do a lot of Windows investigations. Recycling bins, know what's in there. How to basically retrieve the deleted data. Jeez. Understand the registry. That's where all the important stuff are located. Understand the browser history, where they went. File activity, window event logs, Strump data. Strump data is pretty awesome. A lot of incident response use this for another thing, but forensics use this for profiling metrics. How long did you turn on your computer? How long did you look at the screen? It's like screen time on your on your iPhone. That's what Strump does. It provides that. It's never intended for forensics, but it does that. Understand Linux and Mac artifacts, where the file system is located, recent used items, knowledge C, application focus there, activities, and the intent. Also, nowadays everybody uses mobile, so understand where the mobile device artifacts live. Geolocations. HR want to know, hey, where did the user when he was 2 months ago? Was he in a golf course? Where in the golf course that he was at? They want to know. Communication, who did he talk to? Application, what did he download and use on the phone? Media, web browser, and others. So understanding those will help you. So now that you know the operating system, you need to understand how the file system basic skills work, right? I know this might be duplicate from the others, but it's knowing this thing is supposed to locate it on the endpoint, it helps you justify where things are at so that you can do your investigations much quicker. Now in Windows, you see there was recycling bins under the roots, right? The Windows, see there, and then the registry under, if you know it's under System 32, you know exactly where to go and grab it. The user app data local connect devices platform, this is a great, the activity cache database. This is a great place where you can get all the profile in terms of the screen times, how long was he connected, what was connected, and all that stuff. Linux and Mac, understand where the home profile live. Understand where the logs are, where the password you can get so that you can get out and hash it. Understand it under iOS, where the Safari artifacts live. The SMS database. What if you want to reveal on a text message? There it is. You don't have to look and hunt for it. So memorize this so it helps you do your investigation faster. Call history, who you call. Android, what package did you push out? What package did you download? What photo did you recently looked at? Right? And then user stats and stuff like that. Now there's plenty more, but I'm just giving you the basics here. But if you know this, it just helps you do your investigation faster. The next important skill is logs. To me, it's the bedrock starting point of most security investigations begin with, is logs. So if you know logs, it's great, so that you can get your data quicker. So understanding that, it will make your life much easier and become a better digital forensics. There's a big difference between private and public for logs, right? In private, you can have most of the logs are being pumped into centralized. So you can get to SIMs and then pull it out. You know, you can use Splunk, you can use NetWitness, whichever that is your SIMs providing. Public is a little bit different because logs depends on the endpoint itself, on the dead box. So when it sees your laptop, the only logs that they have is on that workstation. Unless there might be some application that it went to the cloud, or as it go to the Gmails and stuff. But then if you don't have the password, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, it might do more kung fu for that. So when you talk about logs, you got to talk about understanding where the log exists, right? So you know where you can navigate to and go to there, and that basically saves you time. For the Windows logs, it's under System 32, Windows events, and then logs, right? Linux logs, you can see it there. It's under the syslogs. If you do server logs, you might not have access to the server logs, so you might work with other team, the server team, to get you what you need. Application log is a little bit different. Every application is different. So it depends on the applications. Some may store in a centralized place where they push everything, depending on your organization. Some may store on a local, and some may store in a variety of places. So understand what application, talk to the application owner so that you can get what you can get for that type of logs. In public, there isn't. So you gotta go hunt for it. You also have to understand the structured query language, the SQL. You don't have to be good at it. You don't have to be bad at it. Enough for you to do your kung fu. Because a lot of web browser nowadays are moving into SQLite database. Everything moving into the database. So understanding how to do the structured query language, you can write your own query and pull out what table you need. So you see there, this is the Mozilla Firefox. You can pull out easier. And then they have epoxy time. You need to understand how to convert that into the regular standard time or whatever time zone that you want. So if you don't know, great news. There's free online training. And you can start from the beginning, and then you can finish to the advanced course. File type identification skill. To me, this is important, right? Understand the file signatures, file headers, or whatever you call them nowadays, right? Everyone call it differently. But note that this file extension can be altered or removed. You might not know what I'm talking about, but if you know, if it's the end of the file, usually they have a dot, it's usually hidden, or it's not always showing. If it's notepad, it's .txt. If it's zip, it's .zip. If you don't know about it, there's a great write-up on Gary Kousler website. Understand the logs. Now you may ask, why is it important? I'll give you a perfect example. Hopefully this works. So if you see here, you see that file, it said 211.txt. Look at the file size, 1.405 thousand, right? That's like I think that's converted to 1 meg something, right? Why is it important? So I did an investigation. This is a true investigation I did, right? I did an investigation. They said, hey, this guy has some type of a picture. When I go to the desktop, I don't see anything. I see 211.txt. But if you look closely, this guy has a photo. Look there, Tony Award, right? Let me see, right? It's a JPEG. But he stuck it into the PK, which is the zip file. So he zipped the JPEG and then named it 211, and then he changed the extension to t.txt. Why? So that no one can see it. So Windows will just show this icon of text box, text notepad. But if you unzip that and you change the title back to zip and you unzip it, beautiful Ferrari. I'm just being nice. Next thing you need to understand is identify file execution. Understand how to know if a file is being executed on a Windows endpoint. right? Some example of the registry here: user assist, recent apps, shipments cache, current version, prefetch, and etc. There's plenty of those out there that will help you identify file execution. Why is it important? For the investigation, HR would like to know what file was executed. Incident response want to know if this file was executed or not. Is it malicious? So if you look at here, one example is user assist, right? You look at in the registry here, how many times was the File Explorer launched? 26 times, if you see here, right? And then it looked like there was a PowerShell that was launched for 1 time. There's Firefox link that was launched 2 times. Why is this important? Well, if you do any type of investigation, you want to know what file was executed. Another thing is identifying file activity skill. Understand how to know if a file was accessed. Was it modified? Was it changed? Was it deleted and stuff like that? All this activity is tracked under the following registry. And it is also under a lot of other places too. But for example, jump list, recent docs, last visit MRU. This is where if you go to like a network share and you look for a file, it tracks all this. So HR want to know if, hey, there's an HR folder, who accessed this? And if you went into that user and you see this, it's valid that you went there. With the file execution, did you open it? Well, there it is, right? So link file is like a shortcut file. It shows every time you click on something, Windows create a shortcut for you, a file, shellbacks, and etc. So understanding how the file activity skills is very important for your investigation. So here's an example of the file activity example. Take the recent doc, it's easier. It's in the registry, right? Recent docs, look like the user, look for user.txt right there. And then look like the user went to the internet here, right? And you see it's there, it's showing. Logs doesn't lie. So if you know this and you know where it's at, it saves you a lot of time. Next thing is, I like this one. Identifying USB or removable drive activity skill. This is great for any investigation. Did the user plug anything in? Did Matt here plug in his mouse jiggler so he can go outside and do the rock band and bang his head in the garage? Right? So understanding all this is located in the registry. So if you look at it, it's under the registry, there USB store. It's store all the information or under system mounted device. What device was mounted into the workstations? User assist, again, it will show you what was plugged in. You can also find this in the window event logs, as I mentioned earlier, right? Under the window event logs, it will write something in there that, hey, a USB was inserted. It was removable. What time? Who? Stuff in that. Window prefetch does this too as well. So it once you repeatedly put it back in, it knows what that file is, what that device is. It just do things quicker for you, but it's also tracking you every move. So an example, if someone plugged in, it record the device serial number, the vendor, right, the product service, the container ID. The detection team or the inside threat will take this information to as well, and what they do is they want to block it on a DLP tool. So if you plug this in the next time, it flags. But the mouse jiggler, it's genetic. You got a lot of company out there that will create those, so it's hard. But there's always a way to detect them and to block them. Next things you need to understand is understand order of the volatility. Not just incident response, but the digital forensics. You will collect data, and your data may not always be on that workstation. It could be on the cloud, it could be on a server somewhere, it could be anywhere. So understanding that before you collecting the data is important so you can protect yourself. You don't want to touch the data because otherwise you're modifying the datetime. So it's best that you understand what you're collecting and craft your collections. There's a great article out there. You can Google it. RFC 3227, there's a great line how you do the evidence collections and archiving. It's a good set of practice, best practice for you. Put it in for your company. Understanding that not all data sticks around. There's some volatile data that's maybe, as soon as you turn off the computer, it's gone. So get what you can get before you lose it. So gather the data in order is from most to less. Get it as much as you can and as fast as you can. Registers and cache. Those, if you log out, it disappears. Routing table or cache, process table, kernel, stats there in memory. Again, if you turn off the computer, all those just gone. So get those first, so that way you have your evidence and you have your data to play with. Temporary file system, disk. You may ask, well, if the disk is there, it's going to be there forever, Tuan. It's like, hell no. People can delete things. Once you know that you're being investigated, the first thing you do is right-click and delete all that crap. And then you're going to go into the recycling bin and you're going to just purge it. And good luck for forensic to go in. And you can still go in. You got to do a lot of kung fu data carving and all that. It's not fun, but it's possible, right? So get those collection first. Otherwise, it's going to change and it's going to give you nightmares. Remote logs in and monitoring the data, right? Physical configuration, network topology, archival media, those things will sit there forever. Why? Matt here is not going to change his Wi-Fi password. Matt here is not going to change his password and stuff like that. The network topology will sit there forever so that you can get any time. So hopefully that helps you understand. The next thing is understanding the step of the digital forensics. There's 5 of them, right? In the incident response, there's 7. So good news, there's only 5, right? We're going to talk about this: identifications, the preservations, the examinations, the analysis, the documentations, and the presentation. So the first thing is, the first step in the forensic process is very important too as well. It's what you determine to collect. Is it a personal computer? Is it a mobile device? Where is it located? Is it on a cloud? Is it on a shared network? Understand where you collect your data source and how it's being stored is important. Once you have that, fill out the chains of custody. This proves the evidence itself. If you don't have the chains of custody, you'll throw it out the windows. A lot of court, if you don't fill out the chains of custody for the evidence that you're collecting, they're not going to take it because they don't think it's relevant. So having the chains of custody to your evidence, if you collect like a thumb drive, it's keep the integrity of that thumb drive itself. What vendor was it? What color was it? What does it look like? Is it 32 gig? Why did you show me a 16 gig? So those are very important. So the key perimeter of this is to identify the information and what format it is for you to go to the next stage where you do the preservations. It's very extremely important. Doesn't matter is it public or private. If you don't do this right, it may be discarded in court. So best to isolate, secure, and preserve the state of the physical of the digital evidence. It could be volatility data, or it could be a live system imaging that you're collecting during, and the server cannot go down, so you have to do a live triage, or a dead box, forensic image, bit by bit. Preserving it in original format is always the key, the best thing of ever. Before you do image, make sure you put in the right blocker. I didn't state that, but that way you don't alter the data, you don't alter the time and all that stuff. Later secure that copy, right? And then work on another copy so you don't tamper with the original. You don't tamper or lost the data and stuff like that. Keep it safe. Keep it out of the water. Keep it out of, you might be crazy, but once you do the phone mobile devices, keep it in the Fedity bag or the black bag to call it. Why? Because user can go onto the iCloud, send a signal, and remote device deleted. Or they call it wipe, remote wipes. So keep it out of the network. That way it doesn't tamper with your evidence. Make sure whatever you're collecting is working correctly too. If the data is corrupted when you collect it, chances are when you parse the data, it will be corrupted too as well. So make sure the file integrity of the data is correct. Next thing is the analysis and examinations. Determine the significance and reconstruction the framework of the data. Draw your conclusion on it. Identify what is being investigated. Put some keyword, put some filter, play around. It may take several iterations and examinations to support your case theory. You gotta do many times, because one time may not justify. Just wanna make sure, hey, am I getting this right? Am I seeing what I'm seeing? Have a third eye person to look at it, right? So that you can answer the classic question, who did what, where, and when. You don't wanna go up there and then the boss gonna be like, hey, are you sure? Oh, I don't know. So be sure what you do and get your conclusion straight out. Next thing is documentation. Have a record of all visible data, right? If you go in for public, if you go into the house and you see a crime scene, take a photo first before you walk in. That way, you have a picture memory of where things are located. You're not altering anything, right? And if you want to get something, hey, did I get that? It's showing the photos, but you didn't bring it back to the lab. Where is it? So it keeps you in check too as well. Document all that. Involving proper documentation for case alarm, like photograph, document down to the serial number. What does it look like? What color is it? What stage is it in? I have a person that sent a laptop in. I wrote it up. I said, here's the chance of custody. It looked all smashed up, and screens are broken and smashed, and keyboards fell off. There's some gooey, gucky looking stickers here and there. The user will respond back, I didn't send you that. I say, well, here's the photo. Here's the label. You send me here. Here's the tracking label. Here's the box. Here's what it looked like. So documentation won't help you much until you have that photo in front of you. Yesterday, I was on a call, the other guy, he sent me a product to use. I said, hey, you sent me a product, but you didn't send me the cable to connect it to. Did you take the photo, Tuan? Oh yeah, here it is. The box all you give me is just black box and no cable. How can I plug it in? So then they have to work back and give me the cable. So have your photos, have your documentations, always important. Next, last but not least is presentation, right? Summarize your explanations, findings, conclusion. Understand your audience. This is important. And then write it in the layperson using abstracted terminology, right? Reference to the specific detail. If I'm sending something to Matt here, he doesn't have time to read a Harry Potter chapter 1, 2, 3, or the other books. Give a simplified reporting, what you find, and then ask him, hey, is it enough for you? If not, you can give a comprehensive reporting, right? Keep your sentence short and paragraph short. Get to the point. So what do you need for forensic tool for skill building? There's many tools out there you can use. Forensic toolkits for Linux. There's Kali out there. There's Helix. There's Autopsies, SIF, and Kane. Some of them may be built in the same module as Kali. Forensic toolkit for Windows. I like Windows. I hate Linux. You can use the Autopsies, the SIF now. If you go Sans, that's built on the Windows platform now. You use FTK Imager to create your image. There's also Neurosoft as well. If you take Sans, you know what Neurosofts are. Those are great for parsing out logs. Mobile forensics, there's SAV, Autopsy, and Belcom stuff. There's not much out there for mobile forensics, sadly, but it should be coming more and more each year. So what are the ways to build your forensic skill? Follow the cybersecurity LinkedIn. Go to a local conference like this, right? Join channels out there. Go places. Get into the conference and then learn what they have. Follow and watch video on YouTube. Matt here showed me the other day, actually this morning, there's a cool website. It's called eNISA. right? ENIS from Europe. You can log on there. It has module for you. It has virtual machine that basically that you can download and then you can play with. And it has step-by-steps, even screenshots. It helps you, basically practice your Kung Fu. You may ask, what's the certifications that I need for digital forensics? CISSP, if you can get it, right? CCE, CFCE. There's GSAC too as well. There's CompTIA, A+, Network Plus, and Security Plus. We follow pretty much the standard of all the security best practice. I'm sure you'll be awake by now. Salary and benefits, right? How much do I make? No, I do not drive a Lamborghini, right? It's depend on whether you employ in the public or you employ in the private sector. Private, you may have more, but you lose a lot of benefits. So it's up whatever you want, right? It's based on your degree and based on your certification too as well. And number of experience. So I've been, 2 decades? That trumped all the degree and certifications. Location is locations. If you're in West Virginia, you're not gonna make as much as San Francisco, sorry. But if you can do that, hey, to live here and make a San Francisco rate, awesome, right? So with that, I conclude my presentations and talk. We have any questions? Cool. Well, with that, I thank you for you guys to come and join my talk. And I can't wait.
See you then.